Hey, what's up, friends of Sitecore? My name is Rick Bauer, Sitecordial on both Twitter and YouTube. Welcome to a new series of mine. This one is on Content Hub specifically, and I'm looking forward to running through all the aspects of Content Hub from an admin standpoint, so really more training for your admins, not so much getting into the developer technical details, but just getting into some of the setup behind metadata and all of the elements from DAM to CMP, MRM, and so on over the series. This series is going to be sponsored each episode. This one is brought to you by Le Fin du Monde, Belgian style triple, which I believe means I love metadata. So we're going to break into this while training. I don't know. It's YouTube, so I can do that. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any comments or questions, add them down below in the channel, and I will try and get back to you on a timely basis. Anyway, let's get into this. What we're looking at is the home screen of Sitecore Content Hub. This is the Pro license. There is corporate and enterprise that have some varying differences, particularly around number of I'll call it base entities, and certainly user seats and some other aspects around the licensing, but we can dig into that in some other episode. But this is the Pro version. In this case, we have the products solution, we have CMP, which is the content marketing platform, and then we have the DAM itself, which includes several elements in here, and then the MRM, which is under this project tab. It's highly integrated. Once you have the whole solution set up, you can certainly access assets from any of the other tools and really be able to plan and build out content. But again, we're going to focus specifically on the DAM. So here is my home screen, and right away you'll see there's a search bar. This is pretty blank at the beginning, and we're going to build this out. You can certainly, as a user, start to save selections and searches. But let's just look at the real basics of this. There's create and review. This is kind of an initial state. So if I go to create, this is where I'm going to upload assets. Right now I've already uploaded one asset. This is a photo of a very fine beer called Westvlieten. You can find that in Belgium, in Brussels, at a certain tap, and then I think in Denmark somewhere. But it's a very rare, wonderful beer if you can find it. Anyway, so let's just go up here. I'm going to upload some files. I can easily just drag and drop from my desktop. It's really handy that way. So I can pick on, let's say, pick a few sources here, drag and drop them in, and immediately Content Hub's going to go to work. So it's going to start processing those, and one handy tool up here, I can go to background processes. This used to be called jobs, but I can look in here and see where we at. We can see some different processes running, and it's going through an image processing engine that is really going to convert different file types into multiple file sets. So it's going to handle metadata processing. It's going to convert to maybe a thumbnail or two. Really, it's a processor that can be built out quite extensively, but that's what's going on in the background. And just to give you a quick view into that, let's just jump over to the Manage tab, because I think this is really a neat feature, is the media processing. If I take a look at my content media processing, here's all the file types that you're able to upload into Content Hub. Pretty robust, just image sizes alone. Just to give you a view into the image processor, this is a great little tool that allows you to see exactly what's being processed and to extend it. So I could add in another process that I want to add in, and start to go in and say, I want to convert this image, and then basically, do I want to save the output, and basically set the parameters around that, and and tie on more content types. I certainly don't have to save that, but then I could build off of that. But you'll see, again, like I said, it's processing the metadata, it's creating a PDF, a preview. All of these pieces are running when that image format drops in. So again, you can see there are different processes for different file types, all set to auto run. Very powerful, very cool. So let's check on the jobs that we're running. See how we're doing. Look at that success. This was from before, but lights are green here. That's awesome. So I'm going to go back to my Create tab. This is where I uploaded a bunch of images. And now this is where I can go through and start to upload these to for approval. So Content Hub is and the DAM solution, actually the different solutions have different workflows, but in the DAM process we can certainly have somebody that can upload, and there can be a reviewer, and we can extend from there, but really we can build out that review process. So first of all, I'm going to submit these images, these assets, for approval. So let's go through this. And I could also have selected multiple images and had that and process them all at once, but let's get in here. So now I'm in the review tab, and this is really cool because I can now say I want to check on the assets here as maybe someone that's got a higher level of being able to approve. This could be the same person, and in a lot of organizations it probably will be, but let's just say I simply want to approve this image. Let's just approve the pint glass. It's kind of boring. That's fine. I want to take a look at this image of this beer stein, number 99, the great one. That's my beer stein at a place called Von Trier. Wonderful, wonderful place to drink. Anyway, right now, there's a lot of system information that will be pulled in, and you'll see that, already out of the gate, Content Hub is gathering a lot of metadata that exists on the image itself. Rights is something that I can start to control, and there's this little section here called DRM is where I can start to upload and manage contracts. So things like Getty images that might, or a photographer that you work with. It can be from large scale to small scale. Anything that might have image control by, say, time frame or channel or region, you may want to have control, and I can basically say, hey, you know what, this is actually a rights managed piece, so I'm going to set some parameters around this, and then there's some approval sets that we could have in here. But again, we don't have everything set up around this. I'm doing this right now at a very basic raw level of importing. So okay, and you know what? We've got 2 left here. Let's just show you. I can either hit these check boxes right here in the images, or I can just hit select all up here. And with that, I could just approve them all and be done with that and say, so I could approve a whole screen at the time. So save myself some time if I know that they're all good. Okay, and with all of those processed out of the review tab, we can go over to assets, and we should see them all there. So let's take a peek. We've got our tomatoes. We're going to zip in here. First of all, we've got a nice big image of this showing up here. If I scroll down, you'll see that here's the file itself, and it's set as the master. That's that crown right there. I'll show you a little bit more on that in a second. And all those renditions. So remember the media processor that we had running in the background that I showed you? Here's all of the files that it built. And I could download each of these, and so I could download the original. There's an alternate file, metadata, PDF, preview, etc. So, and again, all of that system information that we showed before. I also have image analysis. This is an AI tool that, once properly set up, will function, and it is included with Content Hub. So it will, the robots will take a look at your image and say, tomatoes on a vine, or woman drinking a beverage, something, or man jogging, anything like that. It'll do that AI-based analysis of your image. This reaches into the product section here, but you can certainly add it and add to that. The overview pane is really, let's just look at that right now. Very simple: file name, title, description, and type. There's some data in here. Right now it just says archive, but again, we are in a very blank system. I haven't set anything up, and I will be showing you a little bit more to how to build this out. And this little panel right here, this overview panel, I could call it something else. I could have secondary panels. I could add, multiple panels to this page. So there's a lot that we can do to extend this. So what matters here is the information you're going to need to be able to search for images, and then the information you're going to want to need to look at your image is something that you're going to want to be able to tag, and that's where the metadata comes in. So let's just call this Tom's on a Vine. You're going to do a better description, but that's what I'm leaving it at for now. So Let's take a look at the download button. Here, we have original, medium, and I can go into the further download options. But let's say this is behind DRM, for example. Maybe these wouldn't be showing here. This is where I'd go into request download, and you'll see that I'll show my range of dates, and I'll put in a territory and the media type, and gonna continue through to all of that. And basically that goes into a processing where somebody else would need to approve that forward. The custom download allows me to do what the name suggests, basically change maybe a little details about this, change the file name. I could crop it essentially and crop to center, for example, and it's going to give me my crop window, and I can start to scale around it, and I can even save that rendition to the asset, to the DAM as well. I'm going to cancel out of this for now, but that's really, you know, the power of the download tool. So I can really do some custom and request, and also the all download options goes back to that rendition window, and I can simply download the exact rendition that I want. Again, that does appear if you set it up as such right here, and I could even add a rendition right here. Okay, let's take a look at this commenting tool. I think this is pretty cool. Here is my annotation, so I can click on annotate, and it's going to open up a new system. And I can, not really a new system, it's inside Content Hub, but I can go in here and, for example, I could pick my color marker that I want and say, you know what, I want to circle this. It's kind of hard to see that. There was a circle there, maybe it shows on your screen. I'm going to say, make this one purple. Why not? So now that lives here, and I can basically push that back and, you know, move that forward. So that's my I can edit that, say that's my new comment, etc. But I can push that through and going through workflow, and then that'll be available for somebody to realize that they need to then update their or provide a new version of this image. All right, let's, just for the fun of it, let's say I went and photoshopped all that stuff and I made my secondary tomato photo. We'll take a look at that processing and see how that's doing. It's pending. You can sit here and refresh all you like, say you're uploading a bunch of stuff. So there's my new purple tomato as directed by the annotation to make that one tomato purple. Really cool feature here. So that is now the last image that I uploaded using this upload button here. Shows up as the master image. I could make this one the master, but right now I'm just going to leave it as just an alternate a version. But a very cool feature on the alternate version, I can say compare to master. So this is great for, imagine you are doing a lot of Photoshop work and there's little touch-up details. I can slide this slider and you can see, so there's a slider that's going across the whole image, but if you look at just the tomato, you can see as I cross over, see in the lower left it says master, and now in the lower right it says version, and I can name that version, but there's my difference. So right now I'm going to leave it on the master and say, okay, that's great. But there's a nice way to compare. You can compare any version to the master, and you're going to set whichever one you want to be the master by clicking that on the three buttons here. So if I wanted the original as master, I could do that here. And again, you can annotate in either case and go in and mark more comments on these. And so I'm going to stick with my purple tomato, and we're going to go over to assets. So again, we went through create, review, and everything ended up into assets. And if I want to make these available, I can do that with a public link. So that would be basically right here. I'd say public links, and I could generate a public link off of this. So I pick my rendition, preview, thumbnail, etc. I can set an expiration date on this, and I could make some decisions on cropping, etc. And again, this will depend on workflow, but then I can save that. And so there's my original, and it's building that right now, but this is going to be the link that I would use to connect to this image. And if there's expiration dates on it, it's going to create expirations. If I wanted to create another public link with a different rendition, I could do that as well. So copy that link, put it in a spreadsheet, or we can use, there's different ways to access that. That's always going to live in the DAM, so I could pull that from here, but that's really the way I create that public link and move from there. Now let's assume I want to have some on my homepage that I want to, or quick access to, for example. So I want all my beers. So I'm going to say, add this favorite to beers, add this favorite. Let's just click right in here. Whoops. Now I'm doing it. Beautiful pint. All right, add this favorite to beers and add this favorite to beers. We'll save that. And on my home page, you'll see that I have my two selections. Right now I have a Vestflitren and beers. So let's click on beers. And that's going to be saved as a selection for me as a user. So I can do that as at a user level, and it's going to basically create a quick filter for me. Now imagine I had 500 beer photos on here, and why wouldn't I? Let's say I had that and I wanted to filter down by Belgian beers or German beers or US beers, UK beers in general. Who knows? I mean, whatever I'd want to filter it down by, I could basically have that filtering, but that's not set up yet. So I would need to create some of that filtering to have that available. And again, this is where we're going to start to be able to build that out and see that on this overview pane. So here, right now, it's just my file name and title and type, which again is only archive. So we're going to need to build that out and make use of all the metadata, the possibilities in Content Hub. So let's take a look at that. Now we're going to dig into building out the taxonomy so we can start to utilize better search, better metadata, to be able to serve up images faster. We're going to look at building a taxonomy, and we'll look at building an option list. So one little thing before we go forward into building out your metadata. Everything is this entity right here. You'll see entities. Everything in Content Hub is an entity, be it a taxonomy, a relation, etc. It's all going to be an entity, or at least related to an entity. So just know that. But we're going to build out first a taxonomy, and then we're going to build out an option list, which is actually just one of the properties. I'll dig in here and I'll tell you a little bit more about each. First of all, you'll see this M dot throughout, and M dot is, if you think about it as a system level, and M dot really came from when this was called Marketing Content Hub or something like that, but it's basically, this was the M dot comes from that, but just think system. For our sake, we're going to label it with a company abbreviation. So I'll just use my initials, do RB dot. And that way, when I go into an entity level, for example, in search, I could search for all the RB dot or all the M dot, and really more for searching for all the RB. So I know what all of my custom meta tags are. So it's just an organizational thing, but we're going to build out a taxonomy. Really, again, it's all a relational database. So, one list related to another and talking to each other. Taxonomies are something that you would consider for a larger list, like 20 plus, 50 plus, somewhere around there. I've heard varying degrees of this, but think about larger lists. Taxonomies are also very important when it comes to being related to controlling security and access, and also being tied to conditionality. So whether a field shows or not based on a parent or something, or a child showing, needs to be a taxonomy. Why wouldn't everything be a taxonomy? Well, if you have something that's maybe a shorter list, doesn't need any control over security, doesn't need to be conditional or anything like that, option lists are lighter weight on the system, and it's just something where you can build it as an option list if you don't need all of that functionality. Mostly, my experience has been working with taxonomies or properties, like just a single text field or something like that. But We're gonna focus on a taxonomy first and go from there. All right, so let's build a new taxonomy. Click New Taxonomy, and I'm going to name this, and I'm going to name it with that company name. So in my case, rb.region, and I'll just put region in here. I'm going to make this manually sortable. Let's try that again. And there we go. Got my region, and now I'm just going to throw in some taxonomy items. My identifier don't need to fill out because it's going to happen automatically when I type in name. So in this case, I'll do Belgium. Start with Belgian beer. Whoops. Try that again. I could add in some synonyms or a description. I could add in, I believe there's even a beer icon in here, so I could add in a beer icon just for the fun of it. And I could have that color. Let's call it brown. And we'll say save. I'm not going to bother adding in all the other ones, but I could also add in children. So if I click on that dot, or just click into it, and I can add, basically, if you can see that I have my path here with Belgium, I could do Brussels. Save that. How about we add one more? All right, so there's Brussels, and I'm going to add Bruges, one of the spellings of Bruges. And let's go back up a level. Now you see I've got my parent-child relation on my taxonomy. Here I can add, let's say, France. I'm going to skip the icons and colors, as I mentioned. Germany. We'll add Mexico. A couple more. Do Japan. And United States. See how I did not put a space in there? On the label, I can. So we'll keep that camel case for the name, but there's a basic taxonomy. This would probably be a lot larger with a lot more breaking down of different regions, but this is going to help me find those images based on the proper region of the brewer. So I could have named it brewer region, etc. So taxonomy in place. Now I need to build out the schema for this. So I'm going to go back to my Manage tab and click on Schema. And here I will click on m.asset because we are working on schema for the assets. So, and you'll see now that I have my overview tab. This is that turquoise pane that we were looking at earlier. This is that section. You can see that if I say new group, I could add a whole new section and that would appear on the page. I have to place it on the page, but that would be available to place on the page. So we're going to not worry about new group right now. I'm just going to add a new member to the overview tab. So click new member, and here's my properties. Again, I will go into the details around all the properties, but just to give you an idea, this is certainly where we would set up the option list, but we have a lot to choose from here. Strings, Boolean, integer, long, decimal, datetime, etc. So a lot we can choose from there, but we're going to pick on taxonomy because that's what I just created, was a taxonomy. All right, so this is going to be, we're going to name this region. You see that was a little work in there before, region to asset. So I want to show that relation. So I'm going to name that here in my schema. And then I can say region, and I can say where the beer was brewed. And I'm going to say assets because it's going to be applied to those assets. And then I'm going to pick my taxonomy. So here I can just quickly type RB, and there it is because I've prefixed it that helps me find that a lot quicker. So rb.region, and I'm only going to allow one region per, basically be able to be selected for each asset. So I'm going to say that is one to many. Many to many is if you wanted to have multiple regions applied to an asset. One to one is you only get, it's very limiting. You only get to apply one type to one asset. So that would mean there would probably be a lot of taxonomy and a lot of images, and they would all be kind of that one to one piece. So there's a use case for it, but that's how I'm going to set that up. Conditional, I'm going to save for a future episode, but this is where we can really start to say whether that field shows based on a lot of things, based on workflow state, based on user, based on whether another field is available, etc. Required, is this required? And you usually use parent, and there could be a condition around that. And then the advanced tab, and I'm going to break into this on another episode, but I'm just going to set this up kind of basic right now. So I'm going to leave path relation on. I'm going to leave taxonomy relation on. I'm going to turn on content copied, completion copied. Rendition relation is basically the relationship to different versions of it. I'm not going to worry about region having anything to do with security. I'm going to turn on allow updates. I'm going to turn on nested. Or maybe I'll leave that off for now. So anyway, this is kind of a basic setup that I'm going to use, and this is, again, something that I want to go into deeper on a different episode, but we'll say save. And most importantly, okay, so first of all, here's my region to asset. Maybe I'll bring this up right underneath description, and I'm going to hit publish. It's going to whir away, and now if I go back to my assets tab and I go to my Westfleten, for example, I could go into my edit settings right here and look at there where the beer was brewed. Click on that. How about that? I'm just going to say Belgium, leave it that, and now it's tagged. Okay, so Belgium, now it's in there. I'm going to save this. And now this region is tied to this asset. If I go over to the assets page with that saved, and I just go back to the general search page, now you're going to see, obviously I don't have a ton of images to work with, but if I were, let's imagine there were hundreds of thousands of images on the page. If I go in there and I type in Belgium and hit enter on that, there it is. There's my Belgium image, so my Belgian beer. So imagine again with thousands of images the ability to tie this down. Again, I could start to get into advanced search and my saved images and such, but this is a quick way to really start to narrow down, and it's really just something that I can build out that taxonomy. So let's go in and look at an option list. That's right here. It's going to be kind of similar. Okay, so I'm going to create an option list. So I'm going to say option list. I'm going to just leave it as flat. We want our list flat, not our beer. So let's, how about like beer color? So beer color, and take care of that. Say create. Did it not create? There it is. Just took a little refresh. Beer color. I'm going to add an item. Blonde. Red. I'm going to save a couple of these at a time because I've been having a little weirdness with it killing me if I don't. So brown. White. Let's call it amber. Oops, click amber. Black. And we'll Let's see, I think I lost that one. Yep. Told you I was having issues. Amber. Black. Gotta click in that field. Wish that was auto clicked. Anyway, there's my option list. Okay. So beer color, let's just go back and double check. I've got 6. Fine. We'll save that just to be sure. All right. Now, let's go to schema for the option list. We're going to create a schema and we're going to build it on MAsset because we're working with all of our assets. We're going to work in that overview pane again. I want to add a new member to that overview pane, but this time instead of a taxonomy, I want it to be a property. I will select my property and you'll see again my multiple ones that I can choose from here. I'm going to get my option list, say next, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm just going to name it beer color. I'll pick my beer color from my option list. We'll name it beer color. Color of the beer. Right? Gonna go into these switches future episodes. For now, gonna just basically include in the content and autocomplete for search. Gonna leave the rest of this alone. That's search tied to security, or a secured value at least, multi-value, but this is single value. We're gonna say save and really hope this works. And then we're going to publish this. Publish. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go to my assets, click on a pint. I'm in my overview pane. This beer was Enlightened Brewing Company, Milwaukee. Local, really good. Let's just make sure we give that a tag. A must try. Not going to worry about type. I don't have that set up. Beer color. Look at, there they are. There's my option list. We'll call that a delicious amber. We're going to save that. And then let's go back over to my assets. And in my assets, there's my pint. Let's just search for any amber beers. There's my pint. There it is. I did it. Amber. Belgium. Ta-da! All set up. Now do that like 1,000 times for the rest of your taxonomy and you're all set. Yeah, I think that's enough for this episode. But again, just to recap, created, loaded an image in, pushed it forward for review, annotated it a little bit. There weren't any rights that were managed that I had to worry about, but if there were, those contracts would live here. It just looks like this, by the way. There's nothing in there. I would add a new contract and put in the name of it and who the license belongs to and put a bunch of copy, but all of this is used to then drive. So create, review, you saw me, basically I can do annotation. You saw the different renditions, but then we get to, that gets it into the assets. And then I can go in here, I can favorite. If I click onto an asset, you'll see all the system data. If there's any rights or comments, I can annotate here. I can see the different renditions available and download those. I can look at the different taxonomy that's showing, and I can certainly dig into here. This is what's chosen to show, but I can dig in here and my fields that I created are here. The other thing I could do is I could make a collection, by the way. So, I mean, again, that's my asset detail. There's my search page. I would have some facets down here that we'll build out, but I could also make some collections. And this is the closest thing I'd say coming to a folder structure in Content Hub, but and I'm just going to call this demo collection. Let's just do this like this. I just prefer that way. I'm going to call it an event. My YouTube demo at Sitecordial. So a little branding there, create that, and then open that up. And let's add some assets to that. And let's just add all of these because they're all from this demo that I did. And we'll add. And those are added. And I could put some details around this. I could have a cover image. So let's set one of these as the cover image. Come on. That one, of course. Oh, yes, I'm absolutely sure. There's my details. Sharing if I want. Make the page, the entire page downloadable. Add in some comments. Or are they fruit? The debate, I don't know. I feel like it's answered. Anyway, so added my comments, and now I can go back here and I have my collection. So that's kind of a way just to group things together into something that I'm always going to want to have available. I also want to say that if I dig in here, I'm trying to remember if I can do this. Yeah, so okay, so it's my searches and so I can save searches, but my collections are just a nice, like I say, it's kind of the closest thing to a folder structure, but all of my assets live there. So create, review, DRM, assets, collections, all part of the DAM. This content is the CMP. There's a products piece in here that allows you to really kind of group things by product families, think more PIM-like. And then project is really what we'll be talking about in the future, known as MRM. So as a marketing resource management tool. So that's the DAM in an overview with a little insight into how you build both a taxonomy and a property known as option list. We'll dig into some of those other properties down the road. All right, thank you. My name is Rick Bauer, Sitecordial on Twitter and on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And please set the alert. I will be doing more on Content Hub and Sitecore XP as well. So please subscribe to my channel so you can catch all of those episodes. They're definitely focused on the admin and the marketer side of things, not so much from a developer standpoint. But I hope this series is helpful for you, and I hope today you're able to see not only how the digital asset management portion of Sitecore Content Hub works, but also get a little insight in how easy it is to set up a taxonomy and an option list. It's really easy to start to build up the solution and drive search. So this is a great tool for any organization looking to have a central repository, a source of truth for all of their assets. So again, thank you. This episode was once again brought to you by Le Fin du Monde, unofficially sponsored. I think I'll change the beer every episode. Why not? So I look forward to seeing you show up for future episodes. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or reach out to me on Twitter. Thanks again. Cheers.